Both series saw a big shakeup in round two, with few drivers finding success in each race. This has left us with a tight fight at the front of the championships. Now it's off to the bumps of Sebring and the fresh virtual tarmac of Hungary as we get ready to watch round three of the PRL GT Pro Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We'll start off tonight with a familiar one before we get to the brand spanking new Hungaroring. Sebring's rough tarmac is notorious to the drivers, but let's head to our track guide to help introduce the audience. Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Home to the 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the most grueling tests in endurance racing, this is a track which has earned a fearsome reputation among drivers. The circuit itself is located on the southeastern edge of the city of Sebring, Florida, and was built out of Hendricks Army Airfield shortly after World War II. 3 layouts are currently in use, ranging from 1.7 to 3.7 miles in length. The longest course, which is perhaps the most well-known with it being the one used for the famed endurance race, shockingly still contains portions of the original airfield surface. It's this aspect which has become a signature feature of the track, making it extremely bumpy for racing. Sunset Bend in particular nearly shakes cars apart while they attempt to navigate the high-speed 180-degree corner. As you'd expect for the side of an airfield, there's nearly no elevation change over the course of a lap, but many of the curves are dramatically tall and unforgiving, daring drivers to glance at them yet not hit them directly. Thankfully, places to pass are plentiful, including spots like the Hairpin and Cunningham. However, the many fast, sweeping turns creates a dilemma for car setup, since a vehicle that's made too stiff could wind up bottoming out on the onerous bumps. In the end, if you have the wherewithal to withstand the track's rough nature, you're likely to fare well. And since Florida fans almost always show up in huge numbers to witness this test of car and driver, you'll have plenty to impress at this legendary North American road course. Well, DJ, with these tiny little MX-5s, this is going to feel a little bit of overkill, but I've watched races here before, and I know we're in for some fun.
We most certainly are, Joe. And yeah, it's going to take these MX-5s a little bit longer to get around here than some of the GT or prototype cars that we're used to seeing around Sebring. But the same opportunities for overtaking and the same tricky areas are going to exist for the MX-5s. Some of the best overtaking opportunities, well, that's going down into the hairpin turn as well as down into Sunset Bend, although you've got to be very, very brave and courageous on the brakes down into that corner. Multiple lines can be had, and it could set up for a little bit of side-by-side action coming down the pit straightaway. Drivers will also have to be careful going through Cunningham and Collier, as that it always presents areas to get it a little bit wrong. One of the most important corners they're going to have to nail, though, no matter what the car has always, well, it's the Le Mans curve. You've got to get that right to be able to get a good run down the Ullman Straight and be able to try to take as much advantage of a little bit of a slipstream down there as possible.
Yeah, I think those slipstreams will certainly be a feature as this race progresses. But before we get to the race, our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebutkicker.com.
Today's event is also sponsored by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. I mentioned it in the intro on the championship, and up at the top of our MX-5s is still Bradley Holly, but only one of these drivers has been in that top five in both races, and that was Peter Newhook, who finds himself in third. Boucher is only 2 back from Bradley Holly, Cervantes 5 back, Calgill 8 back. So you look at the points, and because of everybody getting shuffled up, no one's really spread apart. Let's take a look at the teams championship as well.
Well, in that team's championship, Oh God, Right Turns is leading the way with Miata Mafia close behind them, but that is our closest fight out there. Only 8 points. A big jump back to the Jaeger Bombs. Fossil Racing, a little less than 15 points behind them, and RF Delta Sport about 17 points back of Fossil. So a good little tussle there for the top. Still waiting to see a little bit longer in the season to see what that third place battle will look like, Joe.
Yeah, I'm eager to see how that shapes up. But tonight, it's going to shape up to a 35-minute race, so a little bit of a short sprint race, but there is still one pit stop that you can expect these cars to have to make for fuel. It is open setup, and in spite of these Miatas having somewhat limited options, there's still some tweaking that can be done to find some speed and comfort. Watch out for those incident points, because there's certainly plenty of places where they could maybe put a tire a little too far off, because they'll either get a drive-through at 13 or a disqualification at 17 out there today. As we take a look at the weather now, and it is 80 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. Probably as about ideal as they could want it to get. So nice that they have got at least good conditions for that one. And it doesn't have a whole lot of wind either, so at least they won't be dealing with that end of things.
No, that'll certainly be helpful, as there's not a lot of blocks around here for that wind. Sebring notoriously flat in the middle of Florida, not a lot of hills or trees around it to really prevent any of the winds from coming onto the track. Following here, the 4.9 of Michael Michaud as he makes his way down through the Collier curve, past the tower turn, and working his way right now into those bends before he comes up to Le Mans, this crucial corner to get right.
Yep, looking for a good exit here. This will be his first timed lap if this one was clean. So the 4.97 now onto the long Ullman straight. It only just occurred to me now that the Miata Mafia has pinstripes, like it was a suit all over their cars. So very clever. I do appreciate it as we now watch from on board, looking at exactly what they see coming through the wicked bumpy Sunset Bend. And though that car bounces around, looks like he's got it under control. Let's see what he can put on the board.
In there, he is going to cross over the line. Joe, waiting for that time to get registered. It looks like a 2:26 dead. That's going to hold at the top right now. Larson Duchesne lining up behind him. Sean Vincent bumping his way up into third. Patrick Cowgill. So Michaud having a big buffer to the tune of about 1.7 seconds.
Newhook on his first lap, good enough for a third. So driver we got to keep an eye on for his consistency. Starts off pretty well here. We're still waiting on about half the field to set a time. Alderding is going to put a 27.6 down. That's good enough for the outside of row 3. Boucher has yet to set one. I think he's just coming through Bishop for the first time. And unfortunately, with these long laps, even though they are allowed to take 4 laps around here, I think the most we're going to see from anybody is 3, just because they're looking at about 2:26s for the quickest drivers.
If you look at that there, Joe, as we ride on board with that 87 of Peter Newhook, you can see that mirror actually detached from the car. Now, you can pick that up by just a little bit of a brush against one of the walls around here. There aren't a lot of areas where those walls come close, but especially coming out of Sunset or going down into that corner, as well as coming onto the main straightaway, you can brush up against the wall, and I think that's what that damage is on Newhook's 87.
I was just going to say, I was trying to figure out, well, where in the world did he touch that side of the track? And yeah, he must have just gotten close enough. Now, this shouldn't affect him, frankly, as that can hang loose, and really the aerodynamics shouldn't be that big of an issue. Boucher, by the way, put in 5th place as we now switch to Stefan. Here's about a 1.5 seconds off the pole time currently. We're still waiting for times from Galinotto, Johnson, Lewis, Bladon, and Mossman, our winner from last round, still looking to set his first win. This is St. Aubin, who is still sitting in 4th after his first time across.
And you can see that car getting a little bit sideways there. Clearly a San Jose Sharks fan with what he's got up in the background of his shot. Driving it now onto that backstretch. That's totally fine to take as much of that curve as you want down the Ullman Straight. In fact, you want to take as much of that as you want. These Miatas, one of the big things you've got to be careful in is to not blunt the momentum. You want to let that momentum carry you as much as possible. Reduce any sort of tire friction. On board as he dives down through Sunset. So many lines we're going to see here during the race in Aubin, taking a nice wide and sweeping line, again carrying that momentum.
As he wipes his brow and comes to the line. Let's see what this one will do for him. It doesn't count. He knows he doesn't have the time, so he pulls off. Looks like Michaud, our pole sitter, also does. Mossman actually moved up into second, only 300ths shy of the pole time. And I believe he has enough time left to finish this lap, so he could steal that away.
Very well could. We watch Mossman here as he makes his way out of Cunningham and through the Collier curve right now. This is an area of the track that you may see a little bit of side-by-side during the race, but it's not really recommended. Very hard to get right. That's the tower turn right there. If you're ever at Sebring, great place to watch the race from right there on the inside. Mossman kicking up a little bit of dirt on the exit as he goes on the Flying Fortress straight.
I just watched Todd Lewis cross the line. His second lap also deleted, unfortunately. Boucher is going to be the next one. There's Mossman coming through Jean Debian and up into Le Mans corner as he is really hustling that thing. You can see it sliding around. Is this going to be quick is the question with how much he is abusing those tires. Boucher doesn't have that lap count, so he's done now. Mossman will be next, and I think he might be our last one able to cross the line.
Yeah, behind him, it looks like Jason Larson, who's just now coming through Jean Debian, and I don't think that 42 seconds will be enough time for him to get across. So we'll keep our eyes focused here on the RF Delta Sport driver making his way through Sunset. A little bit of a narrower line that we've seen from some drivers. That's a quicker way, point A to point B, but it's all about that momentum. Oh, he goes faster and to the pole, Joe.
Ho ho! So Michaud's mistake may have cost him. If he could have got around one more time, he maybe could have increased that. Mossman gets a bonus point for the top spot unless Larson's got anything. It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be very tight here as this 13 is trying to get to the line with about 4 seconds left. I think he's gonna be just shy and 0. Yeah, he just barely didn't make it by about 10 feet. That's going to take us to our starting grid as it is Frank Mossman, like we said, who is on the top spot. Michael Michaud will be in second. Johnny Luna, P3 for him, as Peter Newhook will be starting from 4th. Can he get a third top 5? Jason Larson, just shy of that latest lap, will start from 5th anyway, so still pretty good for him. St. Aubin in 6th, as Cabana will be 7th. Boucher, unusually far down here, starting from 8th spot as Bergquist will be 9th, and Alderding will be 10th.
Starting off in 11th is going to be Patrick Cowgill, and to his outside, it'll be Sean Vincent, with Pete Thomas and Danny Duchesne making up row 7. Row 8 will be Pete Bladden, followed by Mark Gassell, with Danny Cervantes and Daryl Johnson in row 9. Both of those drivers not setting a time, as were Todd Lewis and Malcolm Foster. Bringing up the back of the field will be Robert Galinotto.
And don't forget, after the racing is done here at Sebring, the show is not over. The GT3 pros head to the Hungaroring, and it's the first time we've been able to broadcast that track here on GSRC, so definitely something to keep tuned in for. It looks like we've got everybody but Todd Lewis out there on the circuit, so we should be getting ready to go momentarily for this 35-minute race. There goes the Porsche pace car. And Michaud takes a minute before he gets going. Now he's going to accelerate away and still not seeing Mossman go. There we go. Our pole sitter finally gets the car rolling. He's got to catch up because this isn't a very long pace lap. Here we go. Is he going to be able to actually get up there in time? And there's cars having problems, I think, because of the issues there. Green flag is already out. And Michael Michaud is going to get a jump on the field here. This is bizarre stuff, as our pole sitter seems to have given away basically his pole advantage down to the first corner. Newhook up to second as St. Aubin slides way wide coming off the corner. Mossman manages to get back up to third, and Aubin is going to drop a position behind Luna as well.
Yeah, Johnny Luna looking very aggressive down into turn 2 and working their way out of this complex. Now Luna up into fourth. It is Michaud leading from Newhook. Mossman behind Luna and St. Aubin. This is one of the good overtaking opportunities. Let's see now if there's a little bit of aggression going to be shown out here. Frank Mossman, I think, probably kicking himself for that bizarre start.
Remember, he had to come back to try and win it with a mistake at the beginning of Laguna Seca as he goes to the inside of Hairpin. He goes way wide, though, and he's going to go just off the courses. Unfortunately, that pinches Johnny Luna down. He goes through the grass as well, drops multiple positions, but it's still side by side between Newhook and Mossman.
Going down into Cunningham now between Newhook and Mossman. That is Mossman to the inside, trying to be later on the brakes. It looks like he's got it moved, but Newhook not quite giving up the ghost, but finally has to as they make their way through Collier. You can see Newhook trying to move that out of this way and that, trying to try to go around the outside here.
And he's going to solidify that second place behind them. St. Aubin goes a little too hard at the tower. He spins across the track, and he's going to lose control as Boucher gets knocked by him. And St. Aubin eventually finds the course, but not after a wild ride through the grass.
And that damaged Boucher's front fender that is hanging off of the car right now, Joe. So that's really going to hurt him, focusing there on the 71. This is Stefan Alderding really taking advantage of all of the chaos in front of him to be able to move up 6 positions on this opening lap into 4th place.
Somebody weaving down to the inside. Larson slowing, and somebody else as well. Boucher must have gotten a cut course penalty, and now we're starting to see a little bit of traction from Bergquist trying to go past Vincent, as well as I think that's Johnny Luna in there. Yeah, Luna down to the inside, way to the inside compared to Sean Vincent, who gives him plenty of space over the bumps of Sunset Bend. So Luna back up to 5th now.
And that's a prime example of those multiple lines that I said you could take there through Sunset. You can see Bergquist starting to challenge a little bit on Sean Vincent to the outside. He's going to get hemmed in slightly, though, with Johnny Luna in front of him. Now looking for a little bit of a crossover move, but he's going to fall back into line going into turn 1. Swinging a little wide there is Sean Vincent. There in the back, that's the 13 of Jason Larson.
He's taking a look, seeing if he can do anything on Duchesne, but nothing doing there for the time being. Once again, weaving through 4 and 5 into Big Bend. Great exit, actually, from Duchesne here to put himself away from Larson, who's now under threat from Cowgill.
Yeah, it's Cowgill and the yellow and black machine looking to what will be the outside.
Oh, sorry, our leaders just changed hand. Mossman absolutely mugged Michaud into the hairpin. I just looked over and I saw it had gotten down to 1/10 of a second. I thought, oh, I should look at that. I didn't think he'd be that close.
Neither did I, Joe. Just coming out of nowhere, Frank Mossman, I think, trying to recover from that start, but it looks like Michael Michaud not quite letting this go quite easily. The 497 trying to keep up behind that bright blue 69 machine here as they make their way through the back section of this track.
Frank's making a habit out of this lately. Trying to charge back through the fields. We ride with Michael, watching from his onboard, and Michaud goes wide. Now, don't forget, Mossman goes wide. Don't forget that they have an incident limit here, so Frank might have to clean this up or he'll give himself a drive-through penalty.
Very well might indeed. And around here at Sebring, that is very, very easy to do. Lots of wide open runoff. You saw how much Michaud had to check up there a little bit, but that's allowing Peter Newhook, his teammate, to keep right up close behind as well. So this could be a little bit of a team battle, some strategy coming into effect potentially as they make their way down the Ullman Straight.
And they've got the slipstream. This is what Michael was wanting. Didn't want to fall back enough that he loses that. He's going to try and fight to the inside. Coming into Sunset Bend, wheel to wheel. How's your chops over the bumps? It looks like deeper around the outside goes Frank, but Michael is going to be able to take that shorter line to hold steady, and behind it all is the teammate watching Newhook, just looking to see if something will give him a shot into the lead.
And now he's just debating which line is going to be better going into turn one. Oh, now he's going to switch back to that inside. You can see Newhook making the fastest lap of the race, almost 3 wide as they dive down into the corner. That's going to be Mossman holding on to the lead. Newhook using a little bit of that slipstream, and Michaud now being forced back into third place.
So Newhook getting past his teammate, all of them braking hard down into turn 3 as they're looking for the exit, trying to get themselves a launch down towards the hairpin. This is where Mossman first got that lead back last time through, but looks like he had a very good exit as Newhook is nowhere near enough to try and attack.
Yeah, no, he's not. And you can be very aggressive down onto the brakes into the hairpin turn here, but as you said, Newhook not quite close enough. A little bit of a lock up there for Frank Mossman. I think that was the right front tire he was locking up a little bit going into the corner. Looks like Newhook may have a little bit more speed through this middle sector here, but yeah, definitely starting to close in as they make the charge towards Cunningham.
You can give it a go at times in this right-hander. It seems like Peter isn't willing to currently, as he'll stay behind. Now through the single file Collier, just trying to watch out for those tall curbs around the apexes of this turn here through a narrow part of the track, and a lot of inside curb that time from Frank Mossman, who certainly doesn't seem to be afraid to get aggressive over them.
No, he does not. But Joe, as you said, he's going to have to keep an eye out for that incident limit. But as it stands right now, certainly looking like he's got a little bit of a match here for Peter Newhook. Now, we haven't seen what Newhook can do riding along in second as they go through Le Mans right now and onto the Ullman Straight. This is where that slipstream starts to come into effect. All 3 cars just tucking into a single file order.
This is going to start to feel like the Mafia is all over Mossman, with both of these teammates just challenging him and using that slipstream to keep the pressure on. Down into Sunset Bend, this time not able to get to the inside, although Newhook takes a bit of a shallower entry and thinks about it. He goes wide on the exit, and he is looking mighty fast. Could he have a chance at trying to attack into turn 1? Big defensive move from Mossman. Now round to the outside. We're going to go wheel to wheel through the bumps of turn 1.
We are indeed. Newhook trying to make that stick on the outside. You can carry more momentum there. He may be looking for a little bit of a crossover. Indeed, he takes a look down to the inside, but here comes his teammate, Michael Michaud, now maybe thinking about trying to make the move as they go through Gurney Bend. Hard onto the brakes there, making it work. They're almost side by side, but the teammate's playing a little bit fair.
Didn't want to take him out in that, and that actually may have cost them a bit. A little surprised that Newhook was not able to overtake Frank since he was so shallow into that first corner. Already nearly 10 minutes into this race, and we're only on lap 4 currently.
And jumping back to Patrick Cowgill, this is a driver where we have to say we've got to stop using cliche. We're more used to seeing him on the oval side, as he is being a regular appearances now in these road course events. The 31 trying to close in onto the back of Matthew St. Aubin in front of him for 10th.
And behind them, you saw a little bit of a scuffle between Thomas and Cabana, but it was Thomas that came out with that 12th spot back there. St. Aubin into Cunningham after starting this race in 6th. Oh, and he makes a mistake out braking himself into that right-hander. That gives up a lot of time.
sure does give up a lot of time, and that's going to give Patrick Cowgill a little bit of an impetus to get a move on there. You saw a little bit of an aggressive flick of the wheel for Patrick Cowgill, trying to come in behind, resetting there. St. Aubin a little frustrated with himself, I think.
Perhaps one of the more expressive drivers we've actually been able to watch on cam. So many are so laser focused. And as he now leads ahead of Patrick Cowgill, retaining that top 10, can he keep him back in the slipstream, or is Cowgill going to start to reel him in?
Well, it all depends on that exit from Le Mans. Doesn't look like Cowgill's quite going to have enough to close it in, but it's all going to come down to the braking zone really going into Sunset.
And Larson looks like he might finally get something on Duchesne. He's been fighting him for some time, and Duchesne goes way wide. In fact, he gives up 2 spots because now Sean Vincent is underneath, and that's going to give the 26th 8th spot.
It's so easy to do in that corner, Joe. As I said, it's so wide all the way through. There are instincts that you want to carry a long outside line to carry momentum, but you can just get undercut there if you're not careful, and that really did cost them as they now come in. But Sean Vincent looking like he's making a little bit of a re-attack on to Danny Duchesne. Not quite enough to make it work here yet as they go down to the heavy braking zone for turn 2.
And behind them, that is St. Aubin, who might be going from defense to attack here. I see Jacques Boucher is into the pit lane. I'll have to check and see what has merited that, if this is just an early strategy call or what. But in the meantime, we see Larson leading ahead of Duchesne, defends a little bit down into the hairpin, and then comes back to the racing line.
And the 27 there of Danny Duchesne looking a little bit like he wanted to attack, but not pushing too hard. Now almost up to the rear bumper of Larson, just trying to find a way by filling that 13's rear view mirrors as they make their way around now. He's going to have a move going, I think, trying to at least into that Cunningham corner. Is he going to make it work?
Doesn't look like it. Sean Vincent had a try at it, and then he gets checked up. It's causing a bit of a domino effect, and now St. Aubin right behind him. In fact, he fancies a shot into tower. That rarely works, and he brakes very early, allowing, of course, the next car back to now have a shot, as this is Patrick Cowgill's turn.
That's one of the great things about this series, Joe, is that every corner can have this seesaw back and forth. There's that little kink there of Bishop Bend going through Jean Debienne and now into Le Mans. There's Jean Debienne right there. So this is the crucial one. You've got to get this right. It looked like Cowgill lost a little bit of time. Maybe a check up there in front as I'm seeing some cars fling out wide.
Yeah, Bergquist was very slow. I think he got loose. And now he is back together. Duchesne is going to have a shot at Larson, coming around there, or up around the outside as we look at the 13 off to the right hand. He's going to have to go the long way around here into Sunset Corner. He tries to cut back, but there's still a car there. Amazing how brave they can be trying to run side by side. Someone heading into pit lane. That's Bergquist for some reason.
And we've got to pass for the lead, Joe. We've got to pass for the lead. Newhook able to get by into turn 1.
Wow, that came out of nowhere. Newhook now once again your leader, and I think he just used the slipstream to slingshot past.
Yeah, I did indeed. We're going to go back and check out the replay here on this maneuver. He was able to close in during sunset, and then look at that slingshot. Just pulls it out to the inside, going down into turn 1. Put that up on a blackboard and teach it in class. That is how you get a pass done.
Was there contact mid-corner, though, between them? He got right up against that bumper, and Mossman is not afraid to chop it up, but we're going to watch it from one more angle here to see if they actually did make contact. I can tell you that Mossman tried on Newhook into hairpin, didn't work, and now Michaud is thinking he might be able to attack him into Cunningham. Let's see if we can see that if there's actual contact or not here. Yeah, just a tiny bit of a touch.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to have any major damage to the car. They both may have actually gotten away with a 0x there. That's just sort of the nudge contact, as it were. Check back here. I thought that was a really bad corner for Michael Michaud, but he was able to gain a lot of time coming around the tower turn, now putting some pressure onto Frank Mossman in second.
This is where they've now spread apart. Can Frank start to reel him back in? Interesting ebb and flow. I didn't think that we'd have anybody able to challenge Mossman unless this is the slipstream keeping them in touch here, because last time at Laguna Seca, Frank just was at another level and nobody had anything for him.
No, it did not. But his rival at Laguna Seca, Johnny Luna, not too far from this pack, only about 1.5 seconds behind. So they've got to be careful if they keep squabbling like this. Luna could get involved very quickly.
That's a good point. He's been a little bit anonymous because so much action has been happening up front here. As once again, Michaud on Mossman tries to cut across. He goes way wide. He's going to have to check up here. That's going to be a huge loss of speed coming off the corner.
And that's the detriment there of taking that wide line as we jump back to Matthew St. Aubin and that battle we've been seeing as it looks like the 13 and the 71. That was Jason Larson, maybe thinking about a little bit of a move there on a defensive line. And there comes St. Aubin, I believe, poking his nose to the inside.
Duchesne too far ahead for that one. Oh, but he outbreaks himself coming into the first corner. Both of them go awful wide. Duchesne barely keeps it out of the dirt. He immediately swings back across to try and keep St. Aubin from having to look down into Gurney. And they're going to stay in order. They keep this up. Sean Vincent, Patrick Cowgill, Cabana, and Thomas are all getting closer.
Yeah, that's really the story of the race here, Joe, is that nobody's able to truly break away. And every time you start to get a little bit of a breakaway, you get into a battle that just pulls the cars behind you in. So we follow the 24 of St. Aubin, looking in on Danny Duchesne now, going into the hairpin turn. Are they going to have anything doing? No, they're going to stay in single file order. A little bit of a blink there from Patrick Cowgill behind them.
I think it was Sean Vincent that lost his connection. And this is actually giving a great slipstream to Cowgill as we head back up to our lead, because once again, it is down to 0.2 of a second, and they've dropped Michaud for some reason. Luna's now got a friend to race with behind them. You'll see him in the background here.
Now, that is going to be absolutely crucial, I think, as if Luna's not able to get the move done before the time they get to the Ullman Straight. But the move that we've got to keep an eye on, that's the 69 of Mossman, putting all kinds of pressure to Peter Newhook, going through Bishop into Jean Debian right now. That right-hander not able to make the move there as they make the flick to the left, lining this up for the big slipstream through Le Mans. You see how aggressive there Peter Newhook is on that steering wheel. That's going to cost him. And indeed, Mossman now hot on his tail, ready to take the draft.
Just was way off the apex. I think he knew it. Newhook trying to weave to break that slipstream, but Mossman will have a clear track down to the inside as he looks to outbreak his rival down into Sunset Bend. Who has the bigger set of stones here today? It's going to be Frank Mossman, who is back into the lead. Does either of them decide to pit this time? No, they're going to keep it going. They are well within the pit window, and Michaud knows it. Michaud is the one that pulls the trigger.
He does indeed, but that was not before Johnny Luna was able to get past him. But here comes Newhook on a move to the inside, down the pit straightaway. They're going to have to be the late breakers here going into turn one. Newhook back into the lead. I think that's
Something's
Mossman.
wrong.
Yeah.
Mossman just suddenly slowed there. Now they shouldn't have to miss a shift because they now have the sequential gearbox in there. So I have no idea what cost him that much time. He's now a 1.5 seconds back as we got more pitters, Alderding and Cowgill.
I'm not entirely sure either there, Joe. When I was watching his line, I thought for a second that he was maybe looking for a little bit of a crossover move there, but clearly that was not the case. Just some sort of glitch there out of the Delta Sport driver.
Maybe let's get an onboard. Maybe let's see if we can hear, because if he's got a box full of neutrals, I mean, who knows? Weirder things have happened. Here we go. Let's listen. Not entirely sure here.
I think he may have just been a little bit worried about running wide. That's the only thing that I can think of there, Joe, is that just mid-corner, he felt a little bit of understeer and was cautious about running off into the grass on the exit of turn one.
Certainly was a bit of a costly mistake here, because Johnny Luna has now caught him, which means he's under threat of Michaud being able to jump him. St. Aubin seems to have made some sort of mistake of his own. I think this is out of Cunningham or Collier's.
This is going to be out of Collier's coming into Cunningham.
Oh, it's a slowdown penalty. That's got to be a slowdown penalty. In fact, he's still trying to give some time away. If we come back now, and he falls all the way to 9th. This is just a god-awful lap for that 24 car.
Very, very tough watching as our leaders. We've got a nice little fight here for P2. That is Luna and Mossman now side by side. A little bit of banging doors in between the two.
Oh, and he's going to hit him again. He wants him to move over, and he wants more space on the entry into this corner. Sends it in shallow anyways. Tries to give the undercut. Here comes Luna as he tries to get back through. He's got the inside, but he's not got a nose ahead. Are they going to make more contact? It is awful tight through there somehow. They keep away from one another down through through the third turn, and it looks like Mossman is going to be able to keep that second place, but boy, Johnny Luna is feeling aggressive today.
Certainly is, and I've got to give a lot of credit there to Frank Mossman. Gave Luna just enough space on the inside of those corners to prevent an accident. Oh, and that's a run wide there for Mossman. More contact between the two.
Didn't have the space to track out with a car there. Johnny Luna can't carry the speed to try and get past Mossman. This might end in tears the way that they are fighting. Tries to cut back across as now Frank defends to the inside. Ooh, and just chops him in front of him right as they get to the braking zone, and there's nose to tail contact that time.
Yeah, I think the blood is starting to get up a little bit for these two drivers. As you said before, Joe, this could very easily end in tears. Johnny Luna, a very aggressive driver. Mossman as well, both very fair and clean, but aggressive late on the brakes really defines both of their styles. So this could get very spicy very quickly.
This is the 497 who has pitted already. So he's trying to make up time by putting quick laps in. And I think he is coming up to Cunningham right now from what I can see. So, meanwhile, here we go again. Luna's got a good run. Will he try to attack Mossman? I think they all need to come in at this stage because everybody else has already pitted. He's going to be able to poke his nose down inside of Frank Mossman. They weren't really willing to give all that much room previously. Will they this time in a much more dangerous corner? And the answer is yes. Johnny is able to slip underneath him. And all of them down to the lane.
I've got to give credit there to Johnny Luna, knowing that he wanted to make that move stick before getting into pit lane. That's going to give him just a little bit of an advantage. That's very, very heads up. A little bit interesting there from Frank Mossman. Looks like he's actually going faster than Johnny Luna down pit lane. So I wonder if Luna's flirting around a little bit with that pit speed limit or exactly what happened there.
I wonder if he was close on fuel, potentially. Maybe he sputtered.
Oh, Luna's taking tires.
Oh, no. This looks like it plopped back down off the jacks. How much will that hold him up is the question. As a ways goes Peter Newhook way ahead of the others. Way ahead. Did Mossman speed in pit lane? No, he did not. But it's still a slow stop, mysteriously. Newhook easily by. Where is Michaud? Michaud's coming. He's going to be awful close. And I think he's going to be through.
Yes, he is. There he goes up the inside. Michael Michaud able to get ahead of Frank Mossman there. Newhook, though, with that superb stop. I'm running some numbers here, Joe. That may be too superb. That's about 2 seconds faster than anybody else out on track. That may be a bit of an underfuel.
So I'm looking through. Duchesne had about the same time, and then Cowgill was 3 seconds slower at about a 19. But yeah, everybody else between 23 to 26 seconds is defending well to the inside. Michaud doesn't want to give this one up to Mossman, but he's going to go clear around the outside into the corner.
That is just sheer bravery there from Frank Mossman and trust in the driver of the 497. But Michael Michaud knows there's still 11 minutes left to go in this race, so I don't think he's out of this yet. Johnny Luna behind them in fourth. He is about 4 seconds adrift of this after a 26-second stop. Absolutely disastrous for the driver of the 14.
Yeah, can't quite figure out what happened to Johnny Luna, but definitely 4 different stop times for all 4 of our top 4. So everybody's kind of employing something different out there. Patrick Cowgill did a magnificent job in his group. He definitely caught a few people napping because he's gotten up to 5th from his. There is the pit comparison so that you can see for yourself the strange discrepancies we've got between a couple of our fast cars.
Yeah, and as I said, Joe, around that 19 to 21 second mark, that's about what I'd expect for a pit stop in these MX-5s. Luna, I think, suffered from, as we pointed out, that he originally had those tire changes selected and probably got held up as a reason of that. That's why he came out with the 26-second stop. But the 19, 20 seconds, that I understand. 16.9 for our leader, that's a little closer. We're going to check back in on a battle here currently going on for P5.
Yeah, I mentioned Cowgill. He got the spot. Now he's got to hold back that orange and white 71. Alderding looks to the inside. Ooh, and that was very polite from Cowgill. He shook him off the line, gave him more space than he really needed to, and that's going to make it a side-by-side fight to the line as they also tow along Sean Vincent and Bergquist behind.
Yeah, both of them now looking a little bit excited about it. Sean Vincent trying to get a little bit defensive, breaking the draft, but these two up front still side by side, Alderding and Cowgill going into turn 1. It looks like that Cowgill is going to hold the advantage here. Bit of a bad corner there for Stefan Alderding. I think Sean Vincent may get a little bit interested.
Not close enough to outbreak him down into Gurney. It's less than 9 minutes left on the clock here. Ooh, and another poke to the inside from Stefan. It didn't look like he was going to make that one work. I'm kind of shocked that he tried to put his nose down there.
Yeah, I think that may have been a little bit of a head fake, just seeing if he could get somebody to outbreak themselves. But there you can see just boom, 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 all of them running by in very quick succession. Sean Vincent looking very good on the brakes, and he's into the back of Alderding.
Oh, no. And they're both going to go off, giving up positions. Credit to Sean. He is held station to try and let go Alderding. So he's going to allow him to keep sort of the spot, I guess not lose one to him. And this is great for this man, as Patrick Cowgill now has no one nearby. And behind him, you could just see Kevin Bergquist missing his braking point and then some into Cunningham.
Yeah, Bergquist able to get it back up under him, but able to keep going, thankfully. Jumping back here, this is the battle with Matthew St. Aubin. Remember that mistake earlier on. He is now in 10th place, fighting it out with Sean Vincent.
Indeed, and the drivers in the mid-pack certainly have had lots of fun today, but they're not the only ones. The lead has as well. Let's stay with this as we watch St. Aubin's perspective, trying to lead along the quartet that he is a part of. I've been kind of watching what's been going on with Newhook and Mossman, and I think Newhook is either a little slower or he might be saving fuel. Last time by for the 87 was a 2:27.1, Mossman a 2:26.4.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised for Newhook if he does have to save fuel. We talked about it before, that very, very early stop for him. Probably going to have to do a little bit of fuel conservation here as we get down into the final 7 minutes of this race. We'll see those multiple lines again coming through Sunset. That down to the inside of Sean Vincent is Ian Cabana now starting to challenge for that 11th place position.
So more fun being had. I loved how we could just see St. Aubin looking down to the apex and then glancing in his mirrors, glancing to the inside. Here comes Cabana, and he's going to get a little bit of a slide, but he is through as Sean Vincent gives him the space.
Yeah, Vincent, I think, just had a little bit of a scruffy run through those last couple of corners, but woo, a little bit of almost of a look there for Sean Vincent, diving down through turn 2 and now through the Gurney bend, falls back a little bit, but he may try to have a little bit of a move here. Looks like he lost a little bit too much ground there to be able to have a full assault going down into the hairpin.
As they continue to slipstream one another. We got a battle as well for 5th place. Calgill thought he was clear, but it seems he's not. Bergqvist has somehow gotten within about half a second. Once they get onto the Ullman Straight, as long as he gets a decent exit, he's going to start feeling the effects of that slipstream.
Yeah, he certainly will, and it's about under a second is where you want to be to get the good effect of it. So Bergqvist doing exactly what he needs to do here to put the pressure on Patrick Calgill and try to get a top 5 result here today. We'll just have to see how he handles those last couple of corners as they make their way through Bishop Bend, heading towards Jean Debian. Again, that all-important Le Mans corner is what it's going to really come down to here for Bergqvist.
One thing that makes me happy is we still have 19 of the 21 starters out there. We're going to take a look at a comparison between Newhook and Mossman. And, well, yeah, last time by, Mossman's 7/10 quicker. This time, if we hold on this graphic, they're going to cross the line here very shortly. Newhook through. Mossman, woo, over a second a lap quicker that time.
That is awfully quick, Joe, but Mossman does have about a 3.5-second advantage right now, and with laps as long as they are, I don't know if that's going to be enough for Mossman to be able to pull this in, but rest assured, he is going to be giving everything he can.
It's going to be close. I think they have 2 laps left here as Calgill swings it as wide as he can into the first corner. The sun setting behind him, but he's still unable to shake Bergqvist, who follows him in the red, white, and blue 64 down into Gurney. Still not near enough to try and get side by side. What about out of Big Bend into Hairpin? This is a critical exit zone.
Little bit of a squiggle there from Calgill. You saw on the exit of the corner there. Didn't help Kevin Bergqvist enough to be able to close the gap, but here comes a little bit of that slipstream. I don't think he's going to want to go for the move here quite yet. It's not exactly desperation hour. Now into the braking zone, not able to get it done.
You can see those brake lights light up in front of him. He wants to try and put them behind him. Ooh, and this is very good. Here coming off the turn. Patrick Calgill knows it. I think he just expressed his displeasure on the radio about that corner exit. Bergqvist still doesn't go for it.
No, I think Bergqvist here is recognizing that Calgill looks a little bit flustered. He's a little scruffy on the corner exits there or thereabouts, and so he is just applying pressure. He knows he can force an error and doesn't want to have to give anything too major here to the 31.
Ooh. Bad news. Peter Newhook is flashing a lot. His connection seems to be going south. I hope it is able to hold on, but he is blinking all over the place as we watch these two now into Jean Debian. I think Bergqvist should have the best shot he's had yet to try and get by Patrick Calgill as long as he's tidy here through Le Mans. It looks decent.
Yeah, it looks decent for Bergqvist. He's going to be on it. Barney is waving the white flag, by the way, as Peter Newhook crosses the line. So 1 to go here at Sebring.
The last time by, 27.7 for Peter Frank with a 26.4, 1.3 seconds faster that time by now. It's not impossible, but it's certainly going to take a bit of a miracle. And a mistake out of the 87 will definitely bring him within range by the end of this lap. It could come down to their exit of Sunset Bend.
It certainly could. We'll have to keep an eye on that to see if that is what will happen there. But we're going to jump back to that battle with Bergqvist and Calgill. Calgill carrying a lot of speed there through turn 1, able to give him a little bit of breathing room from Kevin Bergqvist for the moment.
Into turn 3 once again, a little deep there from Calgill. He holds the slide and doesn't go off course. He's got and another one, this time fully off track. Here comes Kevin. He's got better exit speed, even though it's the long way around a big bend. I think he's going to be fully passed, and yes, there it is.
And there is that little mistake I said that Kevin Bergquist was waiting for Cowgill to make, but Cowgill's going to try to defend and re-attack there down to the inside of Hairpin. Not able to get it done. Kevin Bergquist covers off the position, and that'll move him up into the top 5.
That gap between first and second is down to 1.7 seconds. Mossman is coming. If he gets the slipstream and the 64 is giving it up. There goes Cowgill through. What happened there?
I'm not entirely sure there, Joe. I don't know if that was a let up or a fuel issue or something.
Perhaps a slowdown penalty of some sort. Yeah, he's given a lot back here. Let's go to our leaders. It's 1.2 seconds. This might be too little, too late. Again, though we could speculate that Newhook is trying to save fuel. Did he put enough in? He's gaining on him, but it's not by enough. Down the backstretch, down the Ullman straight. Newhook just needs enough gas to get to the line from here. Around Sunset Bend, 1.1 seconds. 1 second between them. 9 seconds. Is he sputtering? It looks like no. He's got enough. He's going to get to the line first. Peter Newhook, third different winner, and 3 rounds here today as Mossman finishes second. Michaud will be third.
And I guarantee you, Frank Mossman there ruining the fact that he did not have one more lap. Peter Newhook making strategy work out to his advantage. I did not think he was going to have enough to cross the line.
Let's go to eighth. Let's go to eighth. 3 wide coming up into Sunset Bend. Holy cow, Cabana involves. St. Aubin is in this as well. And who is going to be the bravest? It's going to be Matthew, but he goes way too deep, and Cabana does as well. St. Aubin's in the wall. Cabana avoids it, but it's Sean Vincent who undercuts both of them and will get a 9th place because of it.
Way to go there for Sean Vincent to make that work. A great drive. Heartbreak for Matthew St. Aubin, just trying to carry as much speed as he can there and not letting out of the throttle, but throwing him right into the wall.
That last lap hero antics, unfortunately, just did not go well for him. And that is amongst our last finishers here, as we've got 18 cars left on the lead lap. So I believe that'll take us to our results here today. And up at the front of it, it was Peter Newhook who finished ahead of Frank Mossman, with Michael Michaud finishing P3 and Johnny Luna in 4th. Patrick Cowgill, 11th to 5th for him today. That is a mighty good job for him. Jason Larson was P6, and Duchesne as well, 14th to 7th. Stefan Alderding was in 8th at the checkered flag, Vincent 9th, and Cabana rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Pete Thomas with the damage. Matthew St. Aubin in 12th place. Pete Bladden was 13th, followed by Mark Gassel and Robert Galento in 15th. Todd Lewis was 16th, followed by Kevin Bergquist down there. That very strange issue befalling him. Jacques Boucher in 18th. Malcolm Foster was a lap down, and Danny Cervantes and Darrell Johnson unable to see the end of the race.
That takes us to our winner here today, the 87 of Peter Newhook. Peter, congratulations. Not only did you manage a win, but you are the only driver to be in the top 5 in all 3 races so far this season. Great job. Oh, let's see if we can get Peter on the mic here. Peter, do you have a copy?
Yeah, Roger there, good buddy.
Great stuff. As I was saying, the only driver in this entire field who's finished in the top 5 in all 3 rounds, and now you've got a win to your name. How did you manage that little fuel and still come away with the win? Were you having to coast a little bit at the end?
I didn't think I was going to have to. It wasn't really a light fuel strategy, but when I came out so far ahead of the other guys, I thought I must have done something wrong. So I was coasting down the backstretch. I think I still ended with just under a lap of fuel. So I wasn't carrying any more than I needed, but definitely all I wanted. I'm going to go back and take a look at that. I'm pleased with how that turned out.
I would be as well. We've been saying that Frank seems to be the quick one so far this season, but can't seem to get the mistakes down. Does that give you hope that you could potentially challenge him over the course of the 10 rounds?
Yeah, you know what? Sort of looking over the last couple cycles, I thought, man, like Frank's definitely in another class. Like, it'll be nice to just see where I'm competitive with him. Maybe this is a lucky track for me, but maybe there's going to be more of these this season. So there's opportunities, and yeah, I'll take them where I can.
Well, you might need to get some good qualifying next time because we're heading to Imola. Do you consider that one a strong one for you?
Yeah, I really like that track in some of the faster cars. I actually haven't spent much time in the MX-5, but I will definitely be practicing before next week.
Well, again, congratulations on a win. Is there anybody that helped make it happen for you?
Yeah, again, I think my whole family was pinging me on WhatsApp through the race, and I had a girlfriend in the house cheer me on. Just want to give a shout out, Toto Wolf, if you're watching amateur MX-5 sim racing on a Monday night. I haven't signed anywhere for next year, so just hit me up.
I like that ambition. That was Peter Newhook, our winner here from 4th to the win. But we have a quick break again. There is more racing yet to come as we head off for the Hungaroring as the GT3 pros take their tires to the track there. Welcome back to GSRC. We are now at the Hungaroring. It's our first time covering a race here. And since we might have some audience members that haven't witnessed this place before, why don't we head to our track guide to introduce you. Welcome to the Hungaroring. Situated just northeast of Budapest, this Grand Prix circuit has racked up a stunning history in just a little more than 30 years of existence. Its biggest claim to fame was holding the first Formula One race inside the Iron Curtain at a time when the Cold War was at its peak. But most fans don't associate this 2.7-mile or 4.38-kilometer track with politics. No, its 14 turns make it tight and twisty with a reputation for few places to overtake. For a long time, it was renowned for processional races in which qualifying is of the utmost importance. But the past couple decades have seen a litany of utterly wild and unpredictable races that greatly overshadow the single-file events of before. The majority of passing takes place into Turn 1, while some battles do carry on into Turn 2. But be careful about how greedy you get, because the steep drop in elevation makes it easy to go wide. Other than that, Turn 12 is often the only other realistic place to sneak by your opponent. Perhaps the scariest and trickiest of the corners is 4, which presents a blind and crooked entry into a high-speed flick. Though modern times have seen a paved runoff added to it to make it safer, that's considered out of bounds, and drivers will find themselves being told to give back time if they abuse the exit. Built with fans in mind, the track sits in a natural bowl, allowing great views from most sides of the venue. It's easy to see why it's become a fan favorite on the F1 calendar, and there's little doubt it'll continue to see lots of racing for years to come. DJ, I'm excited for this one. This has been a much anticipated track coming to the service, and now that it's here, well, GT3 cars, how are they going to fare?
I think they're going to absolutely love it, as are we, Joe. The Hungaroring used to really be called Monaco without the walls, but the truth of the matter is if modern history's taught us anything, it is nothing like Monaco, because there are plenty of places to actually get some great overtaking done and to be able to fight back. Turn 1 down into Turn 2 and 3. It's a wonderful opportunity for a late braking maneuver and then a fight back. We've seen some good moves into the very, very terrifying Turn 4 as well that they slide through right there on your screen. From there on out, though, it's a very technical section. We were just talking about it off air, that really from the runs from Turn 8 all the way to Turn 10, it's very, very tricky to get right. You have to absolutely compromise one corner to get the other ones right, and then you've got to be very careful coming through 12, 13, and 14 to set up a good pass onto the main straight. It's a track that's going to test drivers, but it's also a track that's going to reward some very, very aggressive late braking.
So who's got it underneath them? That's the big question. However, we also have our points for the championship here in the GT3s, and Andrew Caron is actually up at the front. And just like what we saw with the MX-5s, things got shuffled up in the 2 first rounds, so everybody's extremely close. And in a strange symmetry, Alessandro Dittulio, who is also in 3rd coming into this round, is also the only one to get a top 5 in both rounds. So if he wins this one, then I guess it's time to start believing in omens, as it's Ash and Ferguson who round out our top 5 here amongst our front runners. We also have the team standings. Let's go to that.
Well, Joe, it's another close battle at the top. The top 3 positions are only separated by 9 points, with Vendaval SimRacing Black on top of 110, ASRX Able Esports only a single point back, and Delta Sport, one of the perennial teams here in the Precision Racing League, 9 points back in 3rd. Little bit of a gap there from 4th and from 5th on back, with Pure Sims Esports 29 points back of our leaders, and SimMSA Esports Black a big 49 points, with only 2 races into this season and nothing is decided yet.
Yep. 3rd race into this season, as we show the race details, is going to be a 40-minute race, as they all are. And again, just like you saw in the MX-5s, it's an open setup with penalties at 13 and 17 incidents, and those bonus points on hand, including the pole, which they're working their way towards earning right now. We'll see if they can get all 4 laps in this one. A little bit longer laps, but not too terribly long, this time, and I believe it's going to be Menino who is first across the line. As you can see, it's also just a little toastier than what we experienced in Florida with a 90 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature.
Yeah, and that 8 miles an hour of wind, not going to be too bad, but watch for maybe a little bit of buffeting coming up at the top of the hill in turns 4, 5, that kind of sequence. Drivers just have to be a little bit of careful for a cross breeze there. All right, as you said, we're waiting for the drivers to come across the line here. Here's Rowan Gill in that Porsche, which again is appearing to be the favored car out here as Dave Menino first across the line. Quickly beaten, though, by Karl Modoff and Davidson. Karen jumping up to the top of the charts now.
All right, there's the names we're used to seeing. Bouchard also going to put himself onto the second row, waiting for some of our other drivers to get through. There's quite a few that have rocked up today. This is Rowan Gill that we're on board with right now. Let's see, Torchio still needs to set a time. I think Dallas Pataska has managed to put one in, or did he? No, he has not set one quite yet. This is on board with Karen up over the blind, turn 4. You can see how hard it is to try and nail that corner, even with the paved runoff.
Yeah, and in a Formula One car, which is what most of us are used to seeing around here at the Hungaroring, that corner is just about flat out, but not a lot of downforce in these GT3s, so there's a little bit more feathering and braking you've got to do to be able to get that right. So very, very tricky, but Andrew Karen doing a great job to hold it. There's that tricky 8, 9, 10 complex that we were talking about. So very technical to get right, and you've got to get a good blast, though, down here through turn 11, coming to carry a little bit of speed into the switchbacks of 12, 13, and 14.
Karen getting ready to set the second of 4 laps that they get here in qualifying. Torchio is going to be the next one through, though. He's taking his Porsche across. He gets a 44 flat. He'll go into 15th position. Cortez, next one, just before Karen. Cortez puts down a 43.7. That's 13th for him. And then Karen, oh, I missed him here. He did not go quicker, and he actually pulls off. I'm not sure why.
I've seen a couple of drivers do that, Joe. I'm not really sure what the strategy call is, but watching here, Alessandro Dittulio in that Porsche making his way around that final corner. Very big square off of that corner. A little bit of a diamond there, letting the car run wide in the middle. Not going to be faster for Dittulio. His teammate, though, Karl Modoff, looked like he may have run a little bit wide out of the final corner, but let's see if Modoff is able to get anything onto the board. Doesn't look like that lap is going to count for Karl, but Rodrigo Mises is up into second.
And our winner from last round, Daniel Ferguson, had his lap deleted the first time through. So he's got to get back around to try put another one in. I think he's only going to have time for 3 laps on this one. There he is on the screen. If he doesn't get a lap time, 24 cars have put one down. So he'll have a lot of work to do at this place. It sees a lot of single file racing. And across the backside of the circuit, trying to keep it within those bounds. Got to keep it tidy this time. It's always hard to try and balance that measure between pushing hard enough to get a competitive lap and not going over the track boundaries.
Yeah, it very much is, Joe, as we ride on board with Ferguson here, making his way around into that final corner, obviously driving one of the new Porsches, which we talked a lot about the last couple of times out, seeing a lot of Ferraris and Lamborghinis as well, so a pretty good disparity up at the top. Here comes Ferguson out of that final corner. He's got a 142.5 to beat. He's going to put down a 142.9. If that sticks, it doesn't. Ferguson looking to be in a little bit of a danger zone here.
Ooh. Yes, it looks like he will have a chance for one more to get through. Karen's headed back out on the track, but if that's an out lap, I'm not sure. We've seen a lot of laps taken away from our drivers. Unfortunately, still only 25 of them have put one down. Lewis Goodway is another one we still need to set a time in the number 74. And this right here is the 20 that we're watching, Alessandro Dittulio, who's only gotten one lap, and he's within 0.02 of a second of Levesque, so he doesn't have to improve much to try and snatch another spot on the grid.
No, he does not, but he'd certainly like to. As you said, Joe, that sometimes we do see a little bit of processional running around here. Still seeing a lot of red popping up on my live timing and scoring charts as drivers run a little bit wide around. Specifically, it looks like the big danger areas for these guys are the final corner and turn 3. Just not looking the best there. Now of turn 1 here as we hop on board. I can tell you that Lewis Goodway is coming out right now of that final corner. I'm not sure if this is an outlap. Looks like that will count for Goodway, so Goodway up into 12th.
Glad to see him actually get one onto the board here. And Ferguson's just now coming around himself on the final turn. So the 676 now will head 29 cars to try and overtake if this one does not count. Last gasp, it does. It's a 43-1. It only puts him into 10th, but at least he'll be towards the front as Davidson now finds himself to the pole by 0.04 of a second over Karen, who's done with his qualifying, so he can't respond. Mies can't. Modoff abandons his final lap. Bouchard will be the next one across, and he's all the way down in 5th, so it's looking pretty good that this 15 will start from the front.
It is indeed, and that 15 is the lone Audi in the field, so a little bit of manufacturing difference coming into effect there. Yeah, the top 4 all coming across. Looks like Bouchard unable to improve. That is not going to count for him. This is the 888 of Levesque here, coming around those final corners. Only about 20 seconds on the clock. Yeah, he's going to call it off. Not enough time to get it done.
And he was the last one able to get it done. No, Genet will be the last one across the line in the 312. But his lap is deleted, sadly. And that is our qualifying over for the first time ever here at the Hungaroring on the Global Sim Racing channel. Alexander Davidson claims that inaugural pole. Andrew Karen was denied by the smallest of margins. Mies will start on the inside of row 2 with Modoff in 4th. Bouchard will be P5, followed by Levesque in the 6th position as Dittulio starts 7th, Rubilar 8th, and Davies 9th. James David rounds out the top 10.
In 11th is a surprising position to see Daniel Ferguson starting as, but that's where he is. Lackerite will be to his outside in 12th. Diego Morales in 13th, followed by Lewis Goodway in 14th. Behind them, row 8 will be Dave Menino and Dallas Pataska. And behind them, it's Nick Ledecky and Patricio Campos del Rio. Manuel Scoli will be 19th, and rounding out your top 20, it's Chris Ferragiano.
Fan favorite Teddy Lowendick will start from 21st with J.R. Williams in the 22nd position. Then it is Gonzalo Cortez starting from 23rd. Gallo will be P24, Genet 25th, and E.J. Dixon in the 26th spot. Jeffrey Ooms will start 27th. Torchio, bad day in qualifying for him, starting from P28. Pablo Uribe 29th, and last driver put a time in is Marc-Andre LaRouche as Rowan Gill and Ian Gagnon-Renault round out our 32-car field. So slightly down from what we've seen before, but still plenty of cars. And hopefully traffic does not become an issue today as we see the lone Audi representing up on the point with Alexander Davidson.
Yeah, so Davidson's going to be very, very pleased with that. But that Audi not exactly known for its top speed. So he may be a little bit of a sitting duck there on the main straightaway, especially with the Ferrari and Porsche, both of which are known to be pretty slippery in a straight line. So that's going to be a big thing, I think, for Davidson. He's going to try to take as much of an advantage as he can going through Sector 2. That turns 8, 9, 10, 11 sequence. That's going to really be where we see him shine.
Cars should be getting going pretty soon. I think Levesque is the only one that we're waiting on, and he is not going to grid up, unfortunately. Looks like he is in the session, so he must be starting from pit lane here as we watch Davidson lead them around the last few corners. They take a short pace lap here, as they do with most of the new tracks. 32 degrees Celsius on that track surface. Porsche pace car is going to give way very early, so Davidson will control around the final corner, waiting for the green flag to be waved. Will he try and kick it off early? Yes, he will. Green flag is out, and Davidson leaves everybody in the dust, but Karen's going to be able to hold on to that second place. Almost a squeeze between Mies and Modoff, but Modoff backs out of it. then sizes him up with a slipstream as some of the cars going very far inside down the front stretch. Someone diving it in, doing their best Valerie Bottas impression. Unfortunately, it's way too good of one, and someone gets punted. That is Dittulio and Karen that get involved.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, Dittulio just trying to go for a deep dive there and it not paying out and taking out our points leader in the process. So that is heartbreak in the first turn. But as you see, everybody else making their way through turns 2 and 3 now. Some side-by-side action there in the back. A little bit of bumping doors, it looks like, between two Lamborghinis in the back. I'm seeing, I believe that is Ferguson and David getting close together. Ooh, a little bit of sideways.
It was Rubelar and Davies who were coming together, and he's right in the racing line. Oh, is everybody going to get around? Not quite everyone. Looks like Jeffrey spun, but all other cars were able to avoid the spun car. I think of Rubelar, who was stuck prone across the track. What a wild start this one is. Oh, and up at the front, Modoff goes a little wide in the middle of the circuit, so he is going to fall down to 4th, losing out to Phil Bouchard.
He is indeed, and there's definitely a little scuffle going on in the back there with Bouchard and Levesque and Modoff all trying to squabble over those positions right now. We ride on board with that middle car. That's Phil Bouchard in the 773.
So Davidson right now has about an 0.8 of a second lead over Mies, which is at least a healthy gap, but not as big as maybe he would have wanted. He avoided the chaos down into the first corner. I'd love for us to get a replay if we can a little later to watch that one, as they come back down into the first corner. Mies still hanging back, but he's not under threat from Bouchard behind him. Instead, that's where they start to clump up. Modoff, Levesque in there, and you see a little bit of a side-by-side battle between Ferguson and Lasherite.
Yeah, Lasherite sending a good move down to the inside, and that is going to open up Ferguson to an attack from Dave Menino in the Ferrari. So they're still side-by-side going down into turn 3. We keep our eyes focused up here. There is that little battle. Wow, a little bit of a cutoff there from that Porsche of Daniel Ferguson, but he's able to hold on to that position from Dave Menino.
Finally get it sorted out to single file amongst themselves. Wonder if we could get it on board with our 3rd place runner Bouchard, as he's fending off. Carl Modoff really wants that spot back. In fact, he's all over the gearbox of the 773.
Yeah, and there you can see it, that Porsche just trying to scrap its way forward. I expect the Porsche to be a little bit better here through sections 1 and 3. That BMW in front as we ride on board with, that is Bouchard on your camera. That is a pretty all-around well-planted car. The Porsche tends to be a little bit tail-happy. You can slide it around the corners a little bit more, and especially on those long sweepers, it's very effective trail braking. So look for him to gain a little bit of time through those sectors.
Love his setup in his room. Very snazzy looking, as we see his triple screens giving him the widest view possible so that he can try and defend if that 946 or 948 gets in his mirrors. He's going to have a great run down the front stretch. Will Phil start to defend? Give a little bit of chatter on the radio. Doesn't pull over quite yet. Modoff is going to take the opportunity to go up his inside, and the Delta Sport driver is through and done.
And that was really heads up there from Carl Modoff. Just a little bit of tap of the brakes right at the apex to prevent the crossover move from Bouchard and to be able to hold on to that position that he just gained.
We've been really taking a lot of curb around this place. It's those Formula One style curbs where they can certainly get aggressive in a few spots. And Modoff's not out of the woods yet. Bouchard clinging to the back of that Porsche. Also being followed by Levesque and the 888 behind them. A pair of BMWs trying to chase their fellow German manufacturer in the Porsche.
Yes, they are. We're going to jump and get a cam here with Guillaume Levesque as we ride on board with him, trying to chase down his fellow BMW driver in front of him, Phil Bouchard, seeing if maybe there can be a little bit of attack to be had. Those two are teammates, so probably in communication with one another as they're doing this.
Racing from inside the void here with Guillaume Levesque. And he has certainly got a good shot at things. If either of those two start to make a mistake, he could snatch that one up down through the very twisty and slow back and forth hairpins of the final corners. And then They watch as they try and exit off of turn 14, each one of them trying to square off the corner, but none seems to find an advantage.
That's a little bit of what you start to run into here at the Hungaroring. I think maybe recognizing that we're watching him there, giving us a nice little look to the camera. That is a little bit what happens. You get a slight bit of aero wash through the medium speed, turn 13 and 14, and it just kind of stacks everybody up behind you. This is the portion of the race, Joe, where I think people start maybe start to think a little bit about pit strategy as it goes along.
I wouldn't blame them. Let's take a look at the replay now that I think things have kind of settled into a rhythm. I'm going to guess that Dittulio, because I think it was Dittulio that outbraked himself, just simply missed his brake marker in the midst of it. He's the 20 that we want here.
Yeah, and I watched it a little bit live, Joe. It looked like he tried to go for a move and just lost it. I don't think he got down onto the grass or anything. I think you were right in your assessment that it was just an issue where he braked way too late into the corner and had nowhere to go but forward with the front brake lockup.
Apologies, having a couple issues here with the replays. We're going to give it another go. And the car that he ran into was Andrew Caron, who is back out on the track. Andrew playing the role of Max Verstappen today, unfortunately. See if he can make any kind of progress back through the field like Max did as well. And the 888 on screen. Looks like we won't be able to find it. Apologies. So we're going to come back live. For those wondering, Caron's still in 28th, but he's a lap down.
And for Caron, he is out there just trying to get as many points as he can. Remember, that is a big championship position there for him that he is trying to hold on to. Your current points leader right now, Andrew Caron. So that is why he is out there. Dittulio also third in points. So this is going to be a big shuffle around there. But Joe, we may want to jump back here. This has been a multi-lap battle for P13 right now. Scully, Ferguson, Campos Del Rio, and Cortez. This is an absolute hornet's nest of a battle.
You can see them coming around through towards the turn 4 flick here. Scully just barely ahead of Ferguson, and Del Rio unfortunately finds himself dive bombed. There comes Cortez, doesn't make the pass. How rare is that, seeing a move into turn 5?
You very, very rarely see a move happen there, and you even rarer see it when it gets into a dive bomb like that and it comes out okay. So a big train now forming here. That's Campos Del Rio, Cortez, Goodway, Ferragano, and J.R. Williams making up this train. I think when we get to the main straightaway here, Joe, this is going to get real crazy.
We're going to watch from Lewis Goodway's perspective, and he's under attack down to his inside. He gives some space at the apex. It's better acceleration off compared to Ferragonio. So the 41 might have to give way here. We hop on board now, looking over the dash of Lewis Goodway. Yes, he's solidly into that 16th place, fending off from the green and black, and someone behind them heading into pits. Hugo Gallo looks to be our first biter for the pit strategy.
Yeah, and there you see that is Goodway going very, very defensive, trying to cut down to the inside. Let's see if Ferragonio is going to be able to make the move work around the outside. Looks like Goodway's a little bit later on the brakes. There you can see him side by side. Maybe a little bit of love tap in the back from the BMW, but able to hold ahead is the Mercedes of Lewis Goodway. They've got to be careful, though. J.R. Williams of the Ferrari, more contact coming down into 3.
And yet again, twice in the same corner, coming together, watching both of them. J.R. Williams tried to get his nose in. It didn't work out. Will he get another shot up to turn 5? Thinking about it. Goodway on the radio about something, but I didn't quite hear what he said. And Ferragonio now having to play defense himself as J.R. Williams had to think about it into 5 once again.
And this is almost exactly what happened in that MX-5 race from Sebring, Joe. Every time you go on the attack and the move doesn't work, crash in the back there. That's a Lamborghini that looks off. I believe that's Arnaud Genet.
Trying to find it. Yeah, I've lost them already, unfortunately. Oh, and Cortez here having some fun now. This is Gonzalo managing to get by Ferguson, or was Ferguson still behind him? No, he did get by Ferguson. Wow, that was in an unlikely place along through the 8, 9, 10 sequence.
Yeah, it is very, very rare that you would see that happen, but that is Cortez now up into that position, jumping back around here. This is a nice little battle, Ferrari versus Porsche.
Yep, hopping on board, coming down into the braking zone. Ludicky is on the attack. Menino just in front of him in the 3 is not going to give him the space or the time, so he'll retain that 9th spot. No re-attack down into turn 2. No DRS for these cars, so have to wait till later in the lap.
Now look at that driving input there from Ludicky, Joe. We talk a lot about that Porsche in the rear end. Did you see the extra little flick he gave into the car mid-corner? My suspicion there is that he gave it a little bit of gas as well, allowing the car to over-rotate slightly and get it to turn and get a better bite off of the line. That is the advantage of Porsche, but it is very, very hard to manage that. So massive amount of credits here to Nick.
Took a lot of curb on the inside of the chicane. Now things slow down here through this portion. He gets right underneath that rear bumper, practically pushing him through the turns. If he can survive the exit through the arrow wake here, coming out of 11, he might have something for him into 12. No, he's just going to stay in line.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to go full attack here yet. Still 28 minutes to go left in the race. You don't want to send an absolute dive bomb and ruin your chances at a good points haul, especially when you're able to be this close to a car like this. It's just a matter of time and patience to be able to get the move done.
I can report that ahead of them, Modoff has been starting to threaten Mies for second place. And there you see him right now. The 948 has cut this down by a number of tenths and has been putting some pressure on the 88. We're watching now from the rear here of the Porsche of Rodrigo Mies.
And there you see Modoff just taking a little bit of alternate lines there, I think, trying to fill that Porsche's rear view mirror with the blue 948 livery as much as possible. The flick of turn 4, both drivers handling that pretty well. You see how quickly there Karl Modoff trying to get back to the outside of the track to maximize his attack through turn 5.
Modoff won the first round, but no such luck in the second round. So I'm sure he is eager to try and see if he can use his pace to get up here and try and attack Alexander Davidson. Dropping off a little bit here through the back section of the circuit. They are well ahead of Bouchard now. It's already 1.5 seconds to the BMW behind them. And you can see on screen just how much of a gap he's already put down. So we're 26 minutes in, about 5 minutes away from the halfway mark of this event. We've had 2 cars make scheduled stops. That's Hugo Gallo and EJ Nixon so far.
Yeah, and so that's a bit of an early stop there. I think they just want to try to run in some clean air, let the cars breathe a little bit and not have to be worried about being stuck behind anybody. So we'll have to see how that early undercut plays out as the race goes along. Right now, though, keeping our eyes fixed on Karl Modoff as he's just keeping up the pressure here on Rodrigo Mies. Good run there for Mies out of turn 1. That'll always keep him at bay for now.
This really is one of our closest fights currently here at the front of the pack. Everybody else has been spread apart by some distance, unfortunately. Down through turn 3. And we got a battle, at least kind of brewing here. Ludicky is in a nice little tussle coming off of turn 3 now themselves. Chasing down Dave Menino, and that's Dallas Pataska in behind him. Got to see it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're all good. I was just going to say Dallas Pataska there trying to keep up the best that he can in that Lamborghini. This is a 3-way manufacturer battle. Ooh, looks like he's got a pretty good run here. Is he going to have a look?
Whoa! Oh, and it's going to go wrong. Very wrong. Ludicky, unfortunately, turning Menino, who's going to have to wait for a clearing. And it's Pataska who gets to take advantage of both of their woes and gets promoted up into 9th. I was just about to say, we've gotten to see a fair bit of Pataska here on the channel lately, both on the track and off, with his involvement of Project Alien. This was ambitious, but maybe too ambitious.
Yeah, it goes down into the slow-mo there. You see just how much wheel he is putting in there, and I fortunately think that gap was always going to close for that Porsche.
Yeah, I don't know why he thought that there was going to be an opening there, unfortunately, but he gave it a shot. It just turned both of their days sour. Pataska now in that 9th place, as I said, about 3.5 seconds from Lascherite to try and catch up. We'll see what one of our front runners from last night's race at Five Flag Speedway can do here in Hungary. And back to the battle, for second place. Mies ahead of Modov, still has not separated, just only 4/10 between the pair.
Yeah, that battle continues to rage. Modov just keeping to apply that pressure here, doing as much as he can. And I've got to give credit to Rodrigo Mies, absolutely withstanding everything that Modov has to throw at him.
I'm not surprised that Mies is doing well today, because he's dealt with pressure like this before. We've seen him make mistakes, but he's used to having to hold off quicker drivers behind him. And I think he's finally been hardened by all his trials of doing this in previous seasons, and various other cars, I should say, as well. The GTE classes, the LMP2 cars that he's run here in the Precision Racing League. But Rodrigo looking for yet another podium, this time in GT3 vehicles.
Yeah, trying to go for it and doing a good job here at this point. Now, this is a little bit more of what we kind of traditionally expect out of the Hungaroring. Obviously, the past couple of runs here in Formula One giving us a little bit of a false narrative of just how good it can be, but certainly a lot of these drivers doing a great job of patience. Jumping back here, I believe this is Morales and Lacarite as they duke it out for P7.
Okay, Antoine giving chase here on Diego. Lambo versus Bimmer. And Uribe is in. So one of our runners towards the back also trying to get a pit stop in at halfway. Diego just keeping himself about at arm's length from that 21, so no attack yet.
And not... Ooh, wide run there coming through turn 5. You can't really get a move into turn 6. That is a one-lane roadway, but looks like that Lamborghini just not able to get it closed down for Lacarite.
Could he maybe set him up for later on down the front stretch? He needs the good exit coming off the final turn, so still plenty of time. In fact, plenty of time in the race in general. Looks like we've got a battle for 14th. Dana Ferguson, Chris Ferragonio, Lewis Goodway. We've been watching them. J.R. Williams also, so we're getting 4 cars in here. Teddy Lowendick is also in the fray in the 72. I think Teddy is sporting some pink colors for Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well. There you see him flash by in the background.
Yeah, Teddy Lowendick there in the 72 machine. Always a fan favorite out here on track. And indeed, you're right, though. A pink livery there for Breast Cancer Awareness Month for Teddy as he tries to close in behind LaRouche the best that he can.
We haven't checked in on his webcam yet. Usually he's got some fun for us. I wonder what if he's got any special surprises here once we get that one going. We'll see if we could pull that up. No mistakes, and I can't tell what else it says. I'm guessing only happy accidents. Is that his Bob Ross on his shirt? I approve, as a Bob Ross fan. My wife and I are both big Bob Ross fans.
Well, there you go. And Teddy, obviously the face of concentration here at this point, as the Hungaroring doesn't offer you a whole lot of errors to be able to make. What he does have, that is Torchio all over. Excuse me, not Torchio. That is
Daniel Renault.
Thank you. All over his gear bolts.
We're going to look back at it. That is not a corner I expected to cause so many problems here today, but there are drivers that are very eager into that turn, and a big bobble coming off the corner. His shirt says no mistakes, but unfortunately that happy little accident is going to give up a spot, and there goes Ian into 18th.
Yeah, certainly tried to fight it there the best that he could. Now looking if there's maybe a little bit of a crossover going down into turn 13, working its way around. Is he going to be able to get anything out of that final corner? Great camera angle there from Dougie Beard. Oh, he's got to be careful. That is Arnaud Genet in that Lamborghini behind him. He may be prey to losing another position.
Actually, it looks like he's closing up. Ian is now under threat, but no, Teddy doesn't stick his nose in. Genet approaches as we have got another friend involved in this little back and forth.
Yeah, so this now turning into a three-way battle for P18. And 3 different manufacturers here all on display. Got to love that.
In terms of parity that iRacing's been getting recently, love that we've got a bunch of different cars able to try and compete on such a twisty circuit. In fact, I'd almost say this is becoming a 5-way battle. Goodway and J.R. Williams are also involved. They're just in front of them, and not by a whole lot. It's less than half a second now.
Yes, it is. So they're definitely starting to get a little bit of a close there as we tick down under 17 and a half minutes to go. And we're going to jump up to the 89 machine. This is James David and Guillaume Levesque. This is a battle right now for P5.
Indeed. David just behind Guillaume and down into the first corner. A little bit of the show of the nose there from the Lambo, but not good enough. Levesque doesn't even get off the racing line to try and defend on this one. We're still waiting for a lot of the drivers to stop into the pits. We're now going to watch to see. It's almost calming the way that the eyes move so gradually here for Levesque. There, okay, there's at least one more rapid movement, but otherwise he just seems to make just such subtle moves.
Yeah, it's a very, very sort of just controlled approach here from Guillaume, holding down the best that he can and withstanding that pressure from a seasoned veteran like James David. And what has to be said is a very, very terrifying looking livery in that Lamborghini to be coming up behind him.
Yeah, I do appreciate it, though. This series always has some very cool paints in it, I will admit. And down into turn 11 once again. Just not quite close enough. He's going to keep him far enough away that Levesque is safe for the time being. Into turn 12, one of the few heavy braking zones after such a medium-length stretch on this course. We're also not seeing many inroads from Karl Modoff, by the way. We haven't shown that battle, but there's really nothing to show. He's stuck at half a second behind Rodrigo Mies. If I know Karl, that to me says less stuck, more fuel save.
Yeah, exactly. I think that pit stop strategy is really, really going to be important here for these drivers. And I'm definitely keeping an eye a little bit on some of the drivers that came in early, like Uribe and Nixon. And yeah, there's a lot of lifting going on across the field here. I think everybody thinking about that long game and that pit stop cycle.
They really are. So Levesque maybe hoping to save a little of his own fuel. And we have J.R. Williams and Gagnon Renault have both headed in.
All right, so a few pitters out of the back group there on what is ostensibly lap 14. And it was just tick under 15 minutes to go here. This is a nice little battle shaping up for Pete Demo. Levesque is off. Levesque had a big off there.
And Modoff. That's Modoff in the Porsche and the 948. Was this the cause of turn 4? I think it was. Here he is entering the corner.
Goes in, takes a big chunk of that curb. Oh, and catches a little bit of the curb on the exit there. That can certainly happen. That just a little bit of a bump as you're trying to straighten the car out and get it back onto the asphalt. It can throw the car out of whack there. Carl got a little bit of damage to the side of his Porsche. Wouldn't be surprised if he dives on into the pits here.
That has got to be disappointing. Lost a good chunk of time to Davidson now, as he's 13 seconds behind the leader. You know, that's such a weird curb, DJ, because it's kind of like an anti-curb where it drops off and the car kind of bottoms out. I wonder if that's what happened, because it looked like he didn't spin until well after the corner was done.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was necessarily a bottoming out issue or just an unsettling of the car issue, but either way, it definitely came back to bite it. It looks like he clipped the curb onto the outside of the car. That's what we're hearing from our director, so that is what threw him off.
I'm going back and watching on my end. And yeah, just two wheels on the curb. He actually didn't go over the anti-curb, it looks like. Interesting. Okay, so now that I've gotten to get a closer look, he just maybe pushed the limits of that thing a little too far. He was successful this time through as we watch ahead of him. Levesque gains a spot along with David. So up to 4th and 5th for these pair.
Yeah, and this battle continuing to rage as we had followed that a little bit earlier. It's now just for a higher placed position. Gotta think we're closing in on the end of that pit window here, Joe. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in a lap or two we see absolutely everybody diving down to the pits as these restricted fuel tanks start to run dry.
Davidson is not making a dive in, but we look at the lap comparison. He's consistently slower. He has not had a single lap faster than that 15 car in these last 5 laps. So Rodrigo is just steadily dropping back. It's not huge chunks. He's still within about 4 seconds of the top driver. So credit to that 88 car.
And he is the only car at this point to dip into the 42s. So definitely doing a good job of just running away with it. As we said very briefly at the beginning of the race, that is the lone Audi out in the field. And so doing a good job to take advantage of that car's nimbleness. When we jump back here, this is Morales in a tight battle with, I believe, Dallas Pataska.
Yeah, loving this coming out of turn 2 here. And then down towards 4. That's a swift right-hander. It is a little bit deceiving, especially these GT cars. Sometimes having to lift as there's a big bobble from Morales, just getting a lot of inside curb, and the time evaporates.
Yeah, it very much does. And Dallas Pataska recognizing that blood in the water. Early braking there going into turn 6 and 7. As we said before, you don't really want to try to make a maneuver into there. I think Pataska knows he may be in the head a little bit of Morales, and he's going to try to take advantage the best he can.
Well, he's at least fast, but on a lighter note, when we had the premiere of Project Alien, there was an impromptu poll about who is the cutest of the coaches. I'm afraid to say that Pataska lost the poll. He was 4th out of 4.
Well, it doesn't matter how cute you are under the helmet, as Nicky Lauda used to say. It only matters if you win. So Pataska doing a good job to prove that, as we've got the first pitter coming in from our leading group, and that is in the tune of James David, as Dallas Pataska also comes down pit lane.
Okay, 10 minutes left to go. I suspect we're going to see the rest of them in after this. So 2 going 1 lap before, maybe trying to use a bit of that leapfrog maneuver. Not seen anybody else in quite yet. I'm watching that pit entry carefully to see who makes the motion. And yeah, it's just those two. Right now, the highest driver who has pitted is Hugo Gallo. That's going to change to James David as he's already out of pit lane. The 89 returns in 16th place, and crucially, he is in clear air.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. There we focus in on James David. You want to be able to get a couple of laps in clean air before your competitors come in. Track like this, yes, the draft does help you down that main straightaway, but you are checked up for so long in the twisty bits here. You really want to maximize some open running. Get this outlap down for James David. Could see a little bit of a bump of him up the field.
That Lambo sure looks mean. There is the pit comparison between himself and Pataska. Actually, quite a bit quicker for Pataska. Half a second gained there in his stop alone. And that carried on over into 1.5 seconds on the... is half a second on the lane, but 1.5 quicker in the pit stall. Wow.
Yeah,
and Davidson's in.
Yep, and here's Davidson and Mies and Bouchard. It's a bit of as I suspected, Joe, that they are hitting the end of that window. It's now going to be a matter of who can stay out longer. Even Modoff is in, and that tells me that there is no more fuel to be gained from these cars.
Ludicky's staying out, though. Oh, Nick seems to have had a light right foot as he makes it one lap farther than anybody else has at this stage. Ferguson also able to keep going. Ferragonio, only 3 cars. Make that 4. Lewis Goodway keeps going.
All right, so it looks like there is going to be a little bit of traffic for some of these drivers that they're going to come out in right now. Rodrigo Mies looks like he's going to have Ferragonio and Ferguson right ahead of him. Lewis Goodway has gotten out in front of Phil Bouchard, so that can hurt them a little bit as they look ahead.
And between the battle of Levesque and David, Levesque came out ahead by a full 2 seconds, so that didn't work out trying to undercut. James David falling back in just a bit of time there. So yeah, waiting on Ludicky, Ferguson, Ferragonio, and Goodway to pit. Davidson, our highest pitter, leads the next car back by roughly 3 or 4 seconds. That would be, Mies rather. That is by 5 seconds back to the 88 currently.
Yeah, so that gap, as we had said, Alexander Davidson just pulling out again and again and again before the pit stop cycle, and it only expanding here in after the pit stop cycle. So Rodrigo Mies, although it does look like he was able to take some good advantage with Phil Bouchard coming out a good way behind him, so he's got some good breathing room, about 7-8 seconds between those two.
And there was an overtake. Bouchard critically not held up by Lewis Goodway, who's yet to pit. That was important for Phil, that he not get slowed down behind the orange and white 74, who's still not pitting. What on God's green earth? How is Goodway still going?
I have absolutely no idea, Joe. That does not make any logical sense in my brain.
Ferguson still going? Ferragonio? Is there a chance that these guys could actually go on a no-stopper? There's a lot of periods where they could lift and coast, I suppose.
Yeah, but when I was out here running a little bit earlier, and granted I was out running in the Ferrari, I was only able to eke out at most 2 laps extra by that lifting and coasting over the 40-minute race distance. I can't imagine they're going to be able to save a whole 10 minutes here.
If they do, it'll be astonishing and actually will probably pay off, because Ferguson started in 11th. He's up to 2nd place. Actually, I'm going to double check to see what his lap times have been compared to those around him. I'm seeing in the mid 45s, 46s. And the leaders have been doing 43s. You know what? I think this might actually be the legit plan that they're trying for. I think Ferguson has been doing this from the get-go.
All right. This is going to be really interesting. We're taking a look here at the comparison lap times between Ferguson and Mies. You can see there how much faster Mies is on a normal run. If they're able to make this work, Joe, this is one of the few circuits that you could make a single stop work, and just how much you have to lift off. Oy, oy, oy. What makes this really interesting is the fact that Ferguson and Ferragonio... Nope, Ferragonio coming into the pits.
Ferguson's not, though. He's still rolling. And he's got Mies closing up behind him, so Ferguson could be looking at a third place unless he really can do something to keep the 88 from passing. Goodway also has committed to this one.
Yeah, and I just took a quick look on board with the 678. Whoa, there's a move down to the inside. Levesque trying to cut into the inside of Goodway. Goodway gives him just enough space around turn one. There's a little bit of overlap. That's left front to right rear. They're going to be a little more side by side, I think, coming down into turn two. Is it going to work around the outside? Is this a Daniel Ricciardo move for Levesque? It looks like he's got it, but Goodway not going away quietly.
And finally out of turn three, there goes Levesque into fifth. Goodway can't really fight too much here. Remember, as we listen, let's listen for the lift. Yeah, 4 and 5, definitely just easing off the throttle and not doing a bad job. Again, 45s out there for the 74 car. That's pretty comparable to our leaders. Unbelievable stuff. Yeah, the only other track I can think of where we've had this situation was, I want to say, at Long Beach in the Formula Series one season.
We're also being reminded that we had in Formula V a little while ago, and I have a recollection, Joe, of last year in the PRL, Kevin Santana in that Formula Pro Series doing it, and the Formula Series doing it as well. So this is not exactly unprecedented. Ferguson stays out. Goodway stays out. I was listening to Ferguson on the last lap. He was lifting well before coming down the main straight. There we can see Ferguson just on the front of your screen, holding off Mies as is. Watch the rev counters here for Lewis Goodway.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite early. Ferguson, what's amazing is Mies has not even fully caught him yet. So Daniel's not only doing this with very little fuel, but he's being very quick about it.
Yeah, he is. Ferguson really, I think, recognizing just exactly how he needs to do this. He was able to dip down into the 44.
Sorry, we didn't see it on screen, but Ferguson went very wide at turn 4.
Yeah, second lap in a row, he's done that, Joe. It just looks like he's struggling a little bit at turn 4, trying to feather the throttle as much as possible. Let's check out a replay on this last lap, though.
Yeah, that's the downside when you try and do those lift and coast. You got to carry as much momentum through the turns as possible. Watch how wide he goes. This is definitely an off track. He's lucky it wasn't a slowdown.
Catching that outside curbing that caught out Karl Modoff and really promoted him all the way down into 8th here at this point. All right, so we are down just over about a minute and a half to go here, looking for the leader, who I believe will be getting the white flag at the line for Alexander Davidson.
He is indeed. 1 to go with a 6.5 second gap to Daniel Ferguson, who is now truly committed. He has gone by the pit entry. He cannot come in for fuel from here. You can see in the background, that was Barney waving that white flag frantically. Is somebody dipping to the inside to try and defend? Is that Goodway?
Goodway.
That is Goodway trying to hold off James David.
Yeah, he certainly is, but I think David knows what kind of strategy Goodway's running here, so he's really on the attack, and that has brought Karl Modoff into the picture as well.
Modoff on a recovery after he spun off midway through this race. So he's going to be hungry for these positions too. Down into turn 2, he gets very close to the back of James David, but can't quite get into an attacking position.
Not able to really get it, and now as they make their way up the hill, those attacking positions are going to be running out here. He's really only going to be able to make something work down into turns 12, 13, and 14, maybe a run off of the line, and just hope that Goodway got his numbers off by a few decimals here as they charge now into that tricky 6-7 complex.
Still trailing behind him. Question is, did Goodway save enough? Can he actually keep at this full tilt all the way to the line, or is he going to sputter when he gets close to there like Davidson is doing now. The 15, who started this one on the pole, is going to finish it there. Alexander Davidson, who I believe is on his first race of the season, kicks it off with a victory here in Hungary for the PRL GT3 Pro Series.
An absolutely commanding drive for Alexander Davidson in the lone Audi. Focusing back here, though, on Daniel Ferguson. He has got it. He is not out of fuel. He is able to cross the line on a brilliant no-stopper.
But Mies ran out of fuel, and Bouchard stole third right at the line. And Goodway ahead of James David to that sixth place. How ironic, and the actual meaning of the term, that it was our cars that pitted that ran out of fuel instead of those that didn't.
Absolutely stunning. Looking back on a battle here, though, for P15 as Chris Ferragono, one of those drivers that tried to make that no-stopper work, not looking like he's going to be able to get anything done. Teddy Lowendick maybe having a look on J.R. Williams as they come out of that final corner. Teddy's going to dive to the inside. Did he get it? No, not at the line.
That's the last of our battles for our drivers. We still had a full 25 cars finish on the lead lap. Only Andrew Caron finished a lap down, and that was because of his incident at the start. Wow, what a development here. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to the Hungaroring. Round 3 of the PRL GT3 Pro Series gave a win to Alexander Davidson. Daniel Ferguson, I thought he just was out of pace today considering his win from last round, and he fooled us all by going all the way to the end without taking a fuel stop. That was from 11th on the grid. Bouchard was P3 as Rodrigo Mies finished in 4th. Guillaume Levesque was P5. Louis Goodway, the only other one to make it without a single stop in this race, finished with a 6th place ahead of James David, just barely. Karl Modoff was vying for a podium for much of the race, and then unfortunately a spin for him sent him down the order. He had to settle for 8th. Lascherite was in 9th as Dallas Pataska got a top 10 today.
In 11th, it was Diego Morales, followed by Nick Ludicky, with Patricio Campos Del Rio in 13th and Hugo Gallo in 14th. Gonzalo Cortez rounded out your top 15 with Chris Ferragonio abandoning that no-stop strategy and coming home in 16th. Manuel Scoli charged up a little bit to finish in 17th, followed by J.R. Williams and Ted Lowendick, with Pablo Uribe coming home in 20th.
Alessandro Torchio was 21st with Dave Menino in 22nd. Then is Genet in at P23. LaRouche up 6 spots from 30th to 24th. EJ Nixon, last one on the lead lap, in at 25th. Andrew Caron, unfortunately, involved in the incident at the very start and just was never able to recover. He did get a few spots as other drivers had problems because Gagnon Renault finished 27th, 9 laps down. You can see Gil, Dittulio, Rubilar, Ooms, and Davies all pretty much DNF'd today. But Alexander Davidson essentially had control of this whole thing. The 15 leading practically from start to finish, other than having to chase down Ferguson for a brief moment. Alex, congratulations on the win. It looked like you took to this track like a duck to water.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a very good race for me. Yeah, had the pace.
Now, when you exited the pits, I do believe you were still behind some of the drivers that decided to try and stay out for the whole thing. Did that catch you off guard a little bit?
No, it actually didn't, because Dan is obviously my teammate. So we had spoke about this before the race, and I knew he was gonna attempt the no stop, and gladly it worked for him. I think my win's a bit overshadowed today. I think Dan's the real winner.
It impressed us up here. It really shocked us when he kept staying out lap after lap. This is our first time getting to cover a race here. How much experience have you had before this event trying to lap the Hungaroring?
Not much, honestly. I've recently, I haven't done the first 2 rounds and haven't been around for a bit because I had some wheel issues, but finally got a wheel sorted out. So started on round 3 and things went really well.
That's a bit of an understatement. Kicking it off with a win. Anybody that you want to thank that helped make it happen?
Shout out to the Pure Sims boys. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Great stuff there from Alexander Davidson, as I believe DJ has caught up with the no-stopping Daniel Ferguson, who went from 11th to 2nd.
Well, Daniel, I want to be smart and come up with something interesting to ask you, but the only thing that comes to mind is, how did you pull that off, my friend?
I don't even know, to be honest. I didn't expect a podium, let alone 2nd place. I was just hoping to finish slightly higher than where I started, which was 11th.
Well, we just heard from your teammate that you were planning on running that no-stop from the beginning. How tempting was it to try to push there, and what can you tell me that you were doing that's not going to give away too many of your secrets?
Well, I just knew I had a fuel number I needed to hit every lap, and every single time I crossed the line, I was watching that number, and yeah, I just did what I had to do. Managed traffic well, I felt, early on, because that's where I could have lost the race pretty easily. But yeah, felt good to pull it off.
I mean, it was certainly impressive, and we didn't think you had it in you, and then obviously coming down to those last couple of laps, we were getting all kinds of excited about it. But talk to me a little bit about the pressure that you were feeling after those pit stops cycled out. You obviously had Ferragonio behind you, who looked like he was on the same strategy, and then Mies, who ended up running out of fuel himself. But were you feeling that pressure there at all? Was that forcing you to push a little bit more than you wanted to, or were you able to keep pretty collected underneath the sim?
I felt pretty calm because I knew, Chris was had you had to do that strategy from the very beginning, and I knew Chris had been pushing from the beginning, so I didn't worry too much about him. I was worried about Rodrigo because I knew he'd at least get me, but then I didn't know he under fueled or something. And then Phil was catching us really quickly towards the end.
Well, a result like this is absolutely remarkable, my friend. Anybody you want to thank for this drive today?
Just want to thank everyone that managed to pull it off, and officials that gave me the idea to try it here. And then thanks everyone at Pearson's for all the support for the week. Yeah, thanks guys.
Thank you. That was Daniel Ferguson, your second place non-stopping driver here today. And finally, Joe, you've caught up with our third place finisher, Phil Bouchard.
Indeed, and he had a front row seat to the action into the first corner. And I don't know if you're an F1 fan, Phil, but did you have flashes of Hungary from this year?
Yeah, pretty much. At first, I thought I don't even know like who tried to dive there, but at first I thought he was trying to like send it to an inside of me, and then I just realized that he was never gonna make that corner. And then I saw my teammate Andrew was like in second place, who got like completely destroyed. So this was a sad one for the team here. Yeah, pretty unfortunate for him.
Throughout the rest of the race, though, you picked your way forward and managed to get up 2 spots to finish on the podium. So how did it feel out there in terms of passing? I know this track is kind of known for being difficult to overtake at. Did it feel that way to you?
Yeah, very, very difficult. At the end, I was fighting Rodrigo and he didn't have any fuel left, and I wasn't even able to pass him there. So yeah, it was very hard. I was pretty fortunate that the guys up front crashed or missed some fuel, so that's why I got some positions there. But the goal was just to try and put down some pace and trying to follow the guys up front. Yep.
Now, we were admiring your setup here in your room. I have to ask, as someone else who has a tire as decoration in his office, is there any special story behind it?
No, not really. I just wanted to have some decoration, and one of my friends had some wheels that were broken, so I just took one of them and restored it and put some lights in it. So yeah, it's a pretty good decoration, and it didn't cost too much. So that's the story behind it.
Well, it makes everything look pretty gorgeous with that light in there. Congratulations on a podium. Anybody you want to give a thank you to?
Yeah, especially all of my teammates, Guillaume, Antoine, and Andrew. We work so hard every week to get the setups and get the pace for the team. So really good to have these guys with me, and also Advanced SimRacing and Team Able, which are our main sponsors for the team. So a big thanks to all these guys.
That was Phil Bouchard, who finished third today with a nice run to the podium, and that's going to close out our interview. So we want to give a big thank you before we go to all of the sponsors of the series, which include ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. As well as SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit NinjaTrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more awesome work. She just released a new song yesterday. I've been listening to it recently, and I have to say, I really like it. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed here on the screen. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link for that in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned earlier, Imola and Road America are coming up in a week's time on Monday, October 11th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and then mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.